obviously are not very savvy with money. Now, I don't know what they did before they won the lottery. I don't know how successful or unsuccessful they were in their personal finances before the lottery. But this shows how ignorant of finances and financial planning they are when they jump the gun like this. This shows not only a lack of planning, but a lack of common sense. What they look like or where they're from. This is just plain common sense. Now, the other two lottery winners have not come forward yet, as one would expect that they would be taking their time putting all their ducks in a row. That makes sense. That's common sense. People didn't do that. So they've never taken the experiment of just, putting $100 in their pocket for the week and just without keeping track of it, just spending it and then paying attention to how much they have at the end of the week. Why is that relevant to this program? Because that's exactly what our politicians do on a daily basis, both in state capitals around the country and in Washington, D.C. They do not keep track of the money. They don't care how much money you have. The lottery doesn't care about anyone but that ticket. Many politicians in state capitals, especially Democrats and liberals in Washington, D.C., do not care about you either. All they care about is the amount of money that you're going to be sending to them via taxes and fees and fines and everything else that goes into the government coffers so they can spend it. Because they don't have to pay attention to how much they spend. They will just spend willy-nilly. And we keep it. It's like electing the Robinsons. Would anybody elect any of the Robinsons to a public office right now if they had anything to do with handling the governmental budget? Would anybody do that? 99% of America, including liberals, probably would not vote for any of the Robinsons right now because they're showing a complete lack of fiscal and physical responsibility and safety. Well, this is what you're electing every 2 years. You're electing the same fiscally irresponsible people to go to Washington, D.C., who then really pretty much not only put our own physical health in danger, but our physical health in danger because now we have to be under what? Obamacare. How does that make any sense? So now it is becoming extremely clear about how we have some of the Neanderthals that we have in Washington, D.C., because we have ignorant people like the Robinsons who are out there voting. Now, I'm not trying to pick on them, but look, they put themselves out there. They're the ones that have invited scrutiny without prepare. I gotta tell you, well, maybe they did it at against his will and in his best advice, which is why he came along. But I tell you what, I was their attorney. I'd say get another attorney. You guys aren't listening to me. If this is the case, I mean, if he advised against them doing this and they still did it anyway, I'd say find another attorney. You're not going to listen to me. You're going to end up losing it all, and most likely, some of it they're going to blame on him. Watch. I'll give it a decade. And they will lose just about everything. And they're going to blame their attorney on some of it, at least. It happens all the time. Why, if I was their attorney and I advised them not to go until they got all their ducks in a row, and they went anyway, I would tell them to find another attorney. Because it's going to be a nightmare trying to advise them legally and financially speaking. But they're out there voting for the Neanderthals in Washington and probably in their state capitals. I don't know what their politics are. I don't know if they're conservative or Republican or Democrat or liberal or socialist. I don't know, but it just goes to show why we have some of the people that we still have in office, why they get reelected over and over and over and over again. because somebody's not paying attention with and not playing with a full deck upstairs. Look, I fully get the excitement, but let me tell you something. If I play the lottery, which I don't, if I did, and if I won, you would still be hearing me on the radio because I wouldn't be changing my behavior until I got all of my ducks in a row. You wouldn't know that I won because I wouldn't tell you on the air until I had everything set so that when I went and got this ticket cashed and certified and got that check, and that check goes in the bank and everything automatically goes where it's supposed to go, where it's safe and invested and all that. I'm safe with it. I'm not going to tell anybody. I might not even tell my family. Well, I mean, obviously you'd have to, if you're married, you got a husband. Speaking of wife or husband, there was a joke on Facebook that kind of revolves around the lottery that I saw over the weekend. Husband goes to his, now this is not bashing wives. It's a joke that I saw on Facebook. Husband goes to his wife, and he says, "If I won the lottery, would you take half and leave me?" And the wife looks up in and says, "Abso-freaking-lutely," thinking that he won the lottery. And he looks down at her and says, "I won $20 in the lottery. Here's $10. Get out." Again, be careful what you say before you know everything that is going to be said afterwards. Get all the information before you make a response. That goes for winning your lottery too, but it really goes for understanding and knowing who your politicians are. I got to say politicians because I don't know. There aren't many running for office right now that I would consider and be statesmen. And if they're not yet a politician, they're practicing to be one. So you got to really, ask what's going on when it comes to that kind of stuff. Hey, it is what it is, right? You just got to be careful and vote for the right person. You got to understand who the right person is. Yes, you got to understand that the right person is going to be physically and physically responsible for you and your money. Plain and simple. Think of it this way. Think of our elected officials as being the stewards or the financial advisors in charge of our nest egg. You know what's interesting to me? I'm going to put it in a little bit different perspective because I want you to truly think about this now. What I find extremely interesting that we have financial advisors out there. Yes, we have lots of them. Different kinds of financial advisors, and financial advisors, they have some of them have specialties in certain particular areas, and some of them are specialties in other areas. Some of them deal in really risky investment vehicles, and others are very dealing blah blah, all that kind of stuff. So we have all of these wonderful investment advisors out there. Now, the interesting thing is that most of them will do their damnedest based on the amount of risk that we're willing to take with our investment. They're going to do the best that they can not to lose that initial investment, and in fact try to grow that into a sizable sum. Hey, they make the more money they make you in many cases today, the more money that they'll end up making. So they have a vested interest in trying to make you as much as possible. Sometimes they may take too many risks. Yes, I get that. But all in all, they're out there trying to improve your financial, your fiscal stature, because it enhances theirs. Now, whenever we have a financial advisor that loses a substantial amount of our investment, what do we normally do? Well, we normally fire them, pull control of our money away from them and give it to somebody else, or take it under our own wing. And sometimes we even look to see if we can go after them for making mistakes that they should not have made, for fraudulent behavior or illegal behavior or illicit behavior, what have you. We try to go after them legally with the law, and then we try to go after them maybe in civilly in the courts by suing them. Yet we got politicians who mismanage our money all the time. A lot more than most of these financial advisors mismanage. And yet we still reelect them, and sometimes give them a promotion by voting them or electing them president. Or, we give them promotion by sending them to Washington, D.C. instead of your state capital. They may be a state senator or a state representative, and we decide, well, yeah, we're going to vote for them and send them to Washington, D.C. as a representative or a senator. We don't think about firing them. Now, I know you're probably saying, well, we can't sue them, Rod. We can't sue them. No, we can't sue them. It's true. But we can fire them by hiring somebody else, by electing somebody else into that office that is so important for our fiscal well-being. Now, I got to ask you, again, I haven't endorsed anybody, but let's look at, we know on the Democratic side, you can forget any fiscal responsibility over there. As a matter of fact, you can forget any physical responsibility over there, because none of the Democratic candidates would do anything to change or repeal Obamacare. Although, I think Bernie Sanders basically says that he would double down on it and probably try to push for universal health care right now, just complete government takeover. So I guess that is changing current Obamacare. But that's the end goal anyway of Obama and Hillary and Barney Plank, is to get universal health care and complete government takeover of the health care system. Medicare for all is what they say. Medicare for all. Most seniors don't want Medicare. They want to give everybody Medicare. But on the right, we constantly are voting for the same people who are not being fiscally responsible. And they're harming every single one of us. I don't point on the lottery issue. We got to stop electing the same people in the same positions, and we got to stop giving poor performers a promotion. Fire them, send them home, send them packing. And my point is, on the right side of the political aisle right now, as far as Republican candidates are concerned, who there would be smart fiscal stewards as president? Well, I think Trump would be. I think Cruz would be. I think to some extent Rubio would be. I think to some extent, Carson and Fiorina would be. I don't trust that Bush would be, or Christie, or Kasich. Santorum would be, somewhat, as well as Huckabee. So, we got some, and Paul, I believe, absolutely. Try to go the opposite, totally and completely, which would not be pretty either. But, hey, spending less, if it's cutting in the right areas, not defense, that's a good. So, Who are you going to vote for again?